So we'll wait for 2-3 more minutes and then we'll start. So good evening, everyone. I hope my audio is clear. Hello. Is my audio clear?
Yes, sir.
And my screen is visible, right? My screen is visible. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So in yesterday's class, we talked about functions, and I told you that we will talk more about functions in our subsequent classes, but I wanted to touch upon data structures, because if you want to solve problems in any programming language, be it so in Python also, so this data structures helps a lot when solving problems, because it helps to collect the data in some form or keep organize the data in some form and use it. So we'll go through some of the data structures which are defined in Python, and then we will go back to function and discuss more about functions. All right. So let's begin today's lecture. So just let me zoom in. All right. I hope it is visible. So you see, data structure is a separate course in computer science, and I am not an expert in data structure, so I'll not be very helpful in explaining data structure. All I can say is data structure is actually a way to organize data, and it also helps in, you know, extracting data and manipulating data. So it is actually a way to represent data and store data. All right. So it helps in refers to the organized collection of data elements which can encompass various types such as numbers, characters, or even other data structures. These elements are typically structures in a particular way, often by assigning numerical indexes to individual elements. So see, whatever be it, when you see examples of what we are talking about, then you will understand what it is. All right. So the first data structure we will see, which is defined in Python, is called lists. And list is actually a sequence of elements, you can say. All right, sequence of elements in Python. So lists are collection of items, and you should note that it can accommodate any data types. It can be either string, integer, or even other lists itself, or any other data structure. It can also have other data structure we will talk about in today's lecture, like tuples, sets, dictionaries, etc. All right. So lists are just collection of items. Lists are denoted by enclosing their elements within square brackets. So we have talked about list in our previous lectures a little bit. So whenever we have a square bracket, then Python knows that we are talking about lists. All right. Each item within a list is assigned an index. So we also have touched this a little bit. So these are actually organized data structures. So by organized, I mean these are indexed, numbered. So there is a first index, second index, and so on. So all the data are indexed in this data structure, which is list. So individual elements are separated with commas, and lists are mutable. So this we will see in today's lecture, what is mutable and immutable. So when we are talking about strings, we slightly touched upon that strings are immutable. So today we will see what is actually what do we mean when we say mutable and immutable. All right. But overall, you can think about it as you can modify it in some way or the other. But what it happens, what mutability does in the memory, we will see this using Python tutor, which we used in our previous class. All right, just the class before this class. So the first is list creation. So it is easy. You can just create a list using square brackets. So some of the things you should know is you can create an empty list. So empty, these are names of the lists, identifiers. So I'm just saying, actually, by the way, list is a keyword. So you cannot use list as a name of a list. All right. So you should either say list one or list two or something like that. This is important. Huh? So I am saying empty list. Empty list is equals to box bracket. So when you do this, then it creates a list which is empty. No elements are there in this list. All right. So you see, when you say empty list or print empty list, I mean to say, then it will print an empty list. All right. You can have other lists like list one, which is equals to, it can be anything. So suppose this list is a collection of strings. So you can say it is a collection of strings, Shubham. Sorry. So this is a string, then you separate the element with commas. So I have separated the element with a comma. The second element is anything you can say. So Raj, right. The third element is Sonu. The fourth element is Arjun. So this is a list. And when you print it, then you will see that it is actually a list. You can also do type and check. Please unmute, sorry, mute yourself. All right. If you have anything to ask, then go on. Otherwise, please mute. Yeah. So if you can check the type of the list, sorry, not list, type of the variable, which is actually a list. You can see that it is a list. Now you can also have list numbers in the list. We have seen that. So you can put numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be also a list, no problem. Now list can have different data types in a list. So you can put any data type in a list. So these are integers, these are floating point numbers, 4.5, 5.6, 7.8, something like that. Now you can also put we have put integer, we have put floating point numbers. So you can also put strings. So you can say str1 comma str2. You see, this will also work. So this is also a list. You can see type, sorry, lst3. It will not give an error. So this is also a list. All right. So this is how we can create a list. In also we have seen that if you are trying to create a list and you are doing something, you want to create a sequence, so you can use range. So range is a function which we have seen that actually iterates from, so it creates an iteratable object. I hope you have used range in your assignment also, and you have seen range when in our previous classes. So when I say range 9, that actually it creates a object which is an iterable object. We will see what iterable object is. But if you want to convert this into a list, you can use the keyword list directly, and you can say that list range, sorry, and then it will become a list from 0 to 8, because actually this in range, if you don't assign a start value, then it will be 0, and at least one value should be there inside range, which will be the stop value plus 1. So if this is 9, so it will stop at 8. All right, so you can pass multiple values, 3 values you can pass: stop, start, stop, and step. We have seen this in previous lectures. All right, so this you can do. So you can get the length of the string. So this length keyword, length function is important. You can pass in variable different data types also, this strings also, so you can get the length of the whatever you are passing through it. Sorry, uh, objects of type. Okay, so I have put list, so list 3, lst3, lst3. Yeah, now it will work. So the length of this is 9, so you see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah, so it is 9. All right, so you can get the length of the string. Now you see, as we have indexed string, we can also index list. We have seen this actually, I guess we have seen this. So if you have this list, suppose I'll take this, not this list, we'll take this list. So if we have this list here, so you see these elements in this list are actually ordered. So 1 over here means that it is in the first position in the list, 2 is in the second position, 3 is in the fourth position. Similarly, this str2 is in the actually ninth position, I guess ninth, yes, ninth, not ninth, eighth position. 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, it is in the eighth position. So the first position is actually 0, and it goes to whatever is the last element. And similar to list, the last position also starts with -1. So you can always check. You see, lst3, when you pass -1, it will give you str2. Similarly, you can do lst3 and 0, so it will give you the first element in the list. All right, so this is similar to what we have done indexing in string. All right, now similar to string, we can also do slicing in this list. All right, we can also do slicing. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, you see, when we are talking about list creation, and we also said that lists are collection of items, so list can also be a list of lists. So you see, we have a list, say we have a list here, this lst3, so this is the list. You can always check what is lst3 by just printing it. So we are not printing it because we are using Jupyter Notebook. Otherwise you should print lst3 like this, print lst3, and then it will give you the list. Now you can have one list inside the list. So what I will do is I will make one more list, which is lst4, and I will put a list in the last, on any position. It can be in any position. I'm just putting in the last position, 3 comma 5 comma 7 comma 9 comma 4. So this will also be a list. All right, so you can see lst4, and when you run this, you will see that this is a list. Now you see, it is important to note this. You see, this is the 0th element, first element. Similarly, this will be the 7th element, this will be the 8th element, and the 9th element will be this list itself. All right, so this list is an element of the outer list. So when you do lst4 box bracket means index in this 9, then it will actually give you the last element of lst4. So this is lst4, and what is the last element? So for the last element you can also do -1, doesn't matter. So when you do -1, this is the last element in the list. and therefore you are getting this list. All right. Now, if you want to get some element inside, so see, when you do lst4 box bracket -1, this is what? This is actually a list. You can check. All right, you can check this. When you do type this, you will get this is also a list, because you can see obviously you have printed it and you are getting a list. Therefore, you can also index in this list. So suppose you want to get this 9, so whatever is in the third position. So when you do this, then you will get 9. All right. So what are you doing? You are first indexing in this outside list. Now, when you get this list, you are indexing in that list. So this is what it means when we do 2 box bracket. It actually says that there is a list inside that list, and we are first indexing that list, and then we are indexing inside that list. All right. And this can go on. This is similar to a nested list kind of thing. You say you can just go on with this. It doesn't matter. All right. So if you say lst5 and you have this list, right? You can create another list inside this list. So it can be a string. All right. So Shubham. And list can have multiple data types. So I am just putting 4.5, then again str7 and 3. All right. So you see when you run this, then lst5 is a list. You can check type lst5. All right. Now when you do this is a list. Now when you do lst, so by the way, I have put this as the last element, but it may not be the last element. You see, this complete is one list, right? You just follow, because it is important to realize this. This complete is one list. This is another list. This one. This is the another list, and this is another list. All right. So this is another list. You can have this may not be in the last position. You can have like this. All right. So you see this will be also a list, and this list have 7, 8. So this is 9th position, which has a list. So you can see lst5 at 9th position will be this list which I have highlighted. You see, this is the list in the 9th position for lst5. Now if you want to get Shubham, so how can you get Shubham? Please unmute yourself if you want to say, sorry, please unmute yourself if you want to tell me how can you get Shubham. So if you want to get this element, so first we had this list 5 lst5. For that I did lst5 box bracket 9. When we did that, we got this list. Now from this list we want to index actually this list. So for this list, what should be the indexing command, you can say? So at which position is this list? Please unmute yourself and say what is the position of this list. 6.
9,
all
6,
right.
1.
9, 6. First of all, I'll do 9 and 6. Yes. So, no, it was not 6. So you should start with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was actually in 5th position. All right. Now it is correct. Now when you do this, and it was not 1, by the way, whoever said it, it was not 1, it will be 0. All right. So because indexing starts with 0. Now you will get this list. All right. Is it okay?
Yes.
Now please tell me how will we get this 6? How will we get this 6? This 6. LST5, come on.
9 and -1.
9 and -1. Yeah, -1 will work. Yes, it will work. You see, we have got. So you can use both positive and negative indexing here. All right. Thank you, whoever it was. It will be better if you could say your name before you answer, so that I'll know who is actually more active in the class. Right. So what yes. So one more thing you should note about list is, so if I define lst6 now, so you can repeat some elements in the list. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So this will be all unique elements. So sorry, not unique elements. I apologize. These are same elements, but this will be identified as 1 6 times. All right, so it will not give only one element, it will give 6 times 1. So this is what it is. So you can repeat the element in the list. This is what I mean, what I am saying here. All right, this is important. All right, now you can slice inside the list, similar to what we did in string. So suppose we have a list called numbers, and it is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. All right, let me go on. 70, 80, 90, 100. Yeah, and you want to get all the elements in the list, so you can do numbers. And so you can always do numbers, but since we are talking about slicing, then we will do colon. All right, so you can always do numbers to get all the elements, but since we are talking about slicing, therefore I am doing this colon. All right, then you will get all the elements in the list. Now if you want to get from first element till this element, so you see this is in the 0th position, first, second, third, fourth. So you just say, so you may not write 0 because it will assume that you are starting with 0, and you should give 5. Because why 5? Because it will go to 1 less than that position. All right, then it will go to 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. All right, now you can also have a start position. Okay, simple. We have talked about this. So you can start from 2 and go to 1 less than 5. You will get 30, 40, 50. Now you can also have a third colon here. What it means that, so suppose you are going from 0 till 8. All right, and you want to skip one element. So this is what it means when you say 2. So this is what, this is start, this is stop, and this is step. So you're taking 2 steps at a time. So you'll get 10, 30, 50, 70 and 90. All right, is it all right? So it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, all right. So this is what is indexing. And one more thing, you can also put booleans in this. All right, so if you want to put boolean here, so you can also put boolean. So this is important, huh? And I don't know what will happen if you put two booleans. So let me check this. All right, so there is 2 trues here. So you will, if you repeat something, it will be there in the list. Now we have talked about this when we were talking about string. You can concatenate 2 string using this operator called, not called, plus sign. So when you use plus sign, you can concatenate 2 strings. Similar to string, you can join 2 lists using this operator plus. So suppose you have list 1. I don't know what it was. Let me check. Okay, this is the list 1, and we also have list 2, which is this. When you say new list is equals to lst1 plus lst2, and and now we have to check what is new list. So when you do that, then you will get the first list as it is, then the second list inside one list. So this is one list. It is not that it is nested list. It is not a nested list. All right, so this is one list. So you will get one list and all the elements will be joined. Now one thing to notice, these are all indexed. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. This will be 4. All right, and if you change the position lst2 plus lst1, then these elements will come in first, and then this element will go later. All right, now you can also count the number of elements in a list. So suppose I had one list 6. Yes, so I had one list which is list 6. You see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 1 is there in this list, sorry, and 2 true. So there is a function which is count, and when you use that, you can count the number of occurrence of an individual element. So you have to do like this, lst6 dot count, and if you want to count the number of occurrence of the element 1, you say count 1. All right, and when you do this, then you will get why 8? Okay, why 8? Yeah, sorry. Why 8? Because true is also 1 in computer language, false is 0 and true is 1. So this is why 8 is coming. All right, don't be confused. In computer language, true is actually 1. So to leave the confusion, let me do like this. Suppose I have list 8, which is actually 1 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 1 comma 1 comma 2 comma 1. All right, and you have to count lst8 comma count, and when you do 1, then it will give you 4 counts. So 1 2 3 4. So 4, so 1 is repeated 4 number of times in this list. All right, so why there was 8 coming? Because true is actually 1 in computer programming. That is why 8 was coming. All right, any doubt? Now one thing I have not told you yet, but you see, when we use functions, like we used when we are talking about strings, we used sort, then we used not sort, we used split, we also used upper, lower, etc. In those functions, you see, we are taking that name of the variable or element, whatever it is, and then we are saying dot. I can say name of the data type, then dot, then we are using a function. But this is not how we talked about when we were talking about function call in our previous class. If you remember properly, when we were talking about function call, we would just say that any function name, suppose sum is or is even, we were talking about is even, and we are saying that is even bracket 3, and we are passing that to the function itself. But why is this dot here? We will talk about this when we talk about object oriented programming, but for the time being you can think about this dot is that, you see, this is a certain data type, and this count function is can only be applied to certain kinds of data type. If this data type matches with the data type where this count function is applied, then this count function will work, otherwise it will not work. So this dot says that this data type has some property, has some features, and this function will be applied to access those features. Suppose you have a string, say s is equals to str3. All right, and now you are saying s dot count. When you do this, then it will not work, because count function is not applicable to strings. You see, you may get an error. You are getting an error. It must be str, not. So whatever the error is, but it says that this function is not applicable to strings. All right. So any doubt before I proceed?
Can try s dot count within bracket. Can try s or t.
Sure. So it is working, right? So now if this is working, then you see count is applicable to str, and I have not used count a lot of times, so I was wrong maybe. But in some of the data types, like if you use a integer, so if you are saying a is equals to 5, and now you are saying that s or a dot count, and you're checking 1, now it will not work, because this int object has no attribute count. So this is a proper error. It says that this function is actually not applicable to the data type in which you are applying it to. All right, so thank you for pointing out, Ram Prakash, I guess it was. So this dot actually says that that function is applicable to some kind of data types, and for that only you have to use it. That's why this dot is coming, but it is actually related to object oriented programming and classes. When we go on, then we will see what is a class, and then we will actually make some class and some attributes of this class, and we will use this dot a lot of time in that time. All right, now you can use loop for list. We have done that, similar to strings. So you see, if we have a list, say lst1, I have already defined, this is lst1, and you want to get each element of that list. So you say for element in lst1, and you can say print element. Now if you run this, then you will get individual element in the list. Why we are getting so? Because this is an iterable object, and in for, if you put an iterable object, this will iterate. This element will actually iterate over that iterable object, and you will get the individual elements in that list. Now suppose we had this list. Where is that list? Yes, LST5. Now if you want to iterate over LST5 and we do LST5 over here, now you see you are getting this because the first element of this list is 1. So it is printing 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, suppose whatever it is. Then you see you are getting this as one element because this is actually one element of that list. While we were indexing this with one position, right? So this is why we are getting only one this in one element. All right. So is this all right, or have I confused you? Was it all right? Was I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now we have talked about this. We can have nested list. This is actually a nested list where there is a list inside list, but you can use nested list to, you know, to use it as matrix. So suppose you have LST 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. LST 9 is equals to 5, 6, 7, 8. LST 10, which is equals to 9, 10, 11, so it may not be of the same number, but since we are talking about matrix, then I'm defining it properly. What I mean, I'll tell you. All right. So if you have a matrix and you say box bracket, so it means that you are making a list. What is the list? The first element of this list is LST8. The second element of this list is LST9, and the third element of this list is LST10. Now you see, when you do print matrix, then you will obtain a list of list, and you can interpret this as a matrix. All right. But what I was saying is, this, suppose this has 5 elements, so it will not give an error because this is not actually a matrix, it is actually a list of list. All right, so I'll say not matrix. So it will not give an error, it will make a list of list, but you can use this as a matrix notation. All right, so that is what I wanted to tell you. Now if you want to index inside this, you can always do that. So if you want to, so this will be the first element of the list, which is matrix. This will be the second element of the list, matrix, and this is the third element of the list, which is matrix. So this will be in the 0th position, this will be in the first position, and this will be in the second position. All right. So if you want to get the second element in the second position, so you will do matrix 2. So it will give you this list. Now you can index in this also. So you can do that. We have seen this just now. So we can do now like this. All right. So you are getting this element 12. All right. Simple. Now we'll talk about some of the functions which are there in list. All right. So let's see append. So what append does is it will add the element at the end. All right. So I had a list with names. What is the list called? LST1. Yeah. So if I say LST1 and I'll see what it is Shubham, Raj, Shonu and Arjun. All right. And what I want to do is I want to add, suppose, a name Ram Prakash. K-A-S-H. I hope the spelling is correct. So I want to add this name to the list. So what there is a function called append. How it is used? It says that you write the list name dot append and give the whatever you want to add in the list inside the parenthesis. When you do this, then you will have LST1 and you can check that this element has been added in the list. All right. So remember one thing, you can add anything. It can also be a list. So if you want to add a list inside this list, you can also do that using this function called append. All right. So suppose you want to add a list over here, which is actually a collection of Ram. So you So this is a list. So what am I doing is, this is actually a list which has 3 strings. The first string is R, the second string is A, and the third string is M. All right. So when you do this, then you see LST1. You see, this is the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, and this element which you have added, it is a list overall because you have added that list. And one thing you also note that whenever you use append, the original list is modified. All right. You should remember which function modifies the list. So whenever you, in general, whenever you use a function with dot something, that function starts with a dot, then it generally appends, not appends, sorry, modifies the list. All right. Not list, whatever it is. And one more thing you note, that append always add the element at the end. It always add the element at the end of the list. All right. List, you see, now I want you to see something. Since we are talking about mutable objects, because these are actually mutable, list is mutable, you can change the list. What is happening in the memory we should know. All right. So let me go to Python tutor and show you what is happening. So suppose this is the list. We are initializing a list which is this. And now I want to append this list with this. All right, and I'll say print LST1. All right, now you see what will happen. We have a list LST1. Sorry. It will be in the memory and you have this list. All right. Now this is in the memory and LST1 is pointing to this list. Now when you append to that list, you are actually modifying the original list which is there in the memory. And this LST1 will just point to that list, whatever the list is. It doesn't matter. If it is changed, then it will be changed. And there will be no new list will be created in the memory. This list will only be modified. All right. So we are not creating another list in the memory and pointing LST1 to that new list. The original list which was there in the memory is getting modified. And LST1 is just pointing to that memory in whatever that is. So what this means, you see, if you say LST2 is equals to LST1, you say LST2 equals to LST1, and afterwards you print LST2 also, print LST2, and you visualize this. You see you have a list LST1. Sorry, just a minute. This is the list in the memory, Shubham, Raj, Sonu, Arjun. Now you are saying LST2 is equals to LST1. When you are doing so, then you are pointing to that list in the memory. All right. Now you see you are actually modifying list 1. You are not modifying list 2. You are never going to list 2. But since both the lists are pointing to the same memory location, then and the original list is modified, then both the list 1 and list 2 will be modified. You see, when you print list 1, you get Shubham, Raj, Sonu, Arjun, Ramprakash, and you have not modified list 2. But since you have modified list 1 and both are pointing to the same memory in memory, list in memory, then you are getting Shubham, Raj, Sonu, Arjun, and Ramprakash. All right. So you should always keep this in mind when you are trying to manipulate some list in the memory. If you have done this LST2 is equals to LST1, or somewhere there you have assigned one list to other list, or some mutable object to another mutable object. Whenever you assign one mutable object to another mutable object, it will point to the same memory, and if you modify one, the other will also be modified. So if you want LST2 to not get modified, you should create a copy of LST1. To create a copy of LST1, there are many ways to create a copy of a list. There is some function called .copy. but you can do it simply with box bracket. You say box bracket colon box bracket. So this will create a copy of LST1 and assign that copy to LST2. And now if you check, you see what is happening. LST1 is pointing to one list in memory, and when this is being executed, it is creating a copy of that list in the memory, and LST2 is pointing to that copy in the memory. Now when you are appending Ramprakash to LST1, then only that list in the memory is being updated, not the other list. In this case, when you print LST1, you will get Shubham, Raj, Sonu, Arjun, Ramprakash, but in the other LST2, you will get Shubham, Raj, Sonu and Arjun, but not Ramprakash. All right? Is this all right? Because these are very subtle things which you should know when you program. Otherwise, there will be some logical error in your code. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Now I want to tell you one more thing. Achha, I'll come back to this. All right. I was planning to tell this afterwards, but since I was talking about append, I came here. But there are few more things to talk about here. But I'll come back here. All right. I have that thing in my notebook, so I'll not forget it. All right. Now you see list insertion. So you can ask me, when I am using append, it is always adding that element inside the, not inside, it is always adding that element in the list at the last position. What if I want to insert it in some specific position? So you can do that. What is LST1? You check LST1 is actually this list and you want to add it here. So you want to add some element after Raj but before Sonu. You can do that using the function called insert. So LST1 dot insert, and this insert actually takes two arguments. First is the position in which you want to add. The position here is 2 because this is 0, this is 1. You want to insert some element in the second position. All right, and the name is Vijaya. All right, now when you do this and when you check LST1, then you will have this name inserted at the second position. All right. Now you can remove some element in the list. So how can you remove? You see, you can use a function called remove. So I'll just use this list only, LST1. It is simple for me. Otherwise I have to define list again and again. One more thing. Are you guys following along with me? Are you guys also doing the same thing which I am doing? If not, then you will face difficulty afterwards. All right. So I request you to code along with me, and in case you find that I am going very fast, you can ask me to slow down. All right, but I would request you to program with me. In that case, what happens is, if you are facing some error in your code, you can ask me to stop. You can share your screen and I can show you where the error is. If I could grasp the error, it may happen that I'm not able to grasp the error, but still I would request you to program with me, and if you face some difficulty or some error, stop me, share your screen, and we will see where the error is. All right. Now we were talking about remove. All right. So suppose here are the names and I want to remove this. Okay, so let's not use this list because there is something I wanted to tell you. Suppose I'm saying that LST, what should I say, 7. Is there LST7? No, LST7 is not there. Okay, so there is a list called LST7 and this is a collection of string which is 1, then 2, sorry, then 3, then again 1, then 4, then again 1. All right, so this is the list. And you want to remove one element of this list, which is 1. You want to remove this 1. All right. And you say lst7 dot remove and you pass 1. What it will do is it will actually remove the first occurrence of that element. All right. It will remove the first occurrence of that element. Okay. So this is what is there, I wanted to tell you. Now you see, there is something called extend. We have talked about list append. So when you append a list, there is a very subtle difference between list append and list extend, and you should know what the difference between list append and list extend is. All right. So you see, when you did append, what it did is whatever you passed to append, it just got added to the last position in the list. All right. Whatever you passed a string, it will add the string. If you passed a list, it will add the list. Whatever you pass to append, it will add in the last position of that list. But in append, what it does is it will actually, let me show you lst1. So this is lst1, and I say lst1 dot extend, and let me pass a string. So I'm saying that add. All right, I'm just passing a string add, and you see what it happens, what it does actually. So this is not very visible, so what I should do is all right, so just bear with me. If you are not understanding it, then I'll give one more example. All right, so what is happening is, you see, Shubham was the first element, Raj was the second element, Vijay is the third element, Sonu, Arjun, Ram Prakash, Ram. But when we passed this add here, it did not add this string, which is actually add, in the last position. It splitted the string into individual elements, which was A, D, and D, and it added as individual elements in that list. So this is one element which is added, then another element, then another element. All right. So this is the difference between extend and append. If instead of extend you would have used append, then it would have added add as individual element. So you can see that if you do lst1 dot append, append, when you do this and when you check what it did, you see it added the element in the last position add. But what extend did, it actually broke that string because it was an iterable object. All right, so it broke that object into individual elements and added. Now we had this list lst7, this is the list. You can do that with a list also. So you can say lst7 dot extend, and you can pass a list. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see this is actually a list. All right, and when you pass this list, and what it did is, this was the original list, it added those elements individually. So the elements of this list was 1, so it added 1 in there, it added 2, then 3, then 4. Instead of this, if you have used append, then it will add the list as it is. So if you used append, then it will add the list in the last position, not the individual element of the list. All right, is it all right? So extend is actually similar to addition symbol. So when you add to list, you're saying add 2, 3, 4, and when you execute, you see these elements are added individually. So you are adding this list to this list, and it becomes one list. And that is why I was emphasizing that it was becoming a list when we are talking about the plus operator initially. All right. So did you get the difference between append and extend, or any doubt in append and extend? So these are just functions to modify our list. When you are working with list, how can you add some elements? How can you delete some elements? So these are ways to do that, or functions which will help you do that. All right. All right. Now, when we were talking about remove, actually this should be below, so because adding, and so let me move it down. Yeah, all right. Now when we are talking about deletion, you see when we did remove, yes, yes, Anita?
In the previous example, you added this LST7 plus 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
So does this mean that the LST7 is modified permanently, including this 2, 3, 4, or it is just displaying now? And if we do this LST7 again, it will not show this 2, 3, and 4.
You are asking a very good question, but I am asking you a question in return. Are you programming with me?
Yes.
So you can check this. I will do that. I'll answer you, but you could have checked it
Okay.
yourself. All right, but I'll
Mhm.
show you and I'll tell you. You see, it will not modify the list. Why? Because this operator, if you want to modify, you have to assign it to LST7. When you assign it to LST7, then only LST7 will be modified. Otherwise, it is just an expression. This is just an expression. It says that this list and some operator and another list. This is an expression. It will evaluate to some value. What is it evaluating to? It is evaluating to this value, but you are not assigning the evaluated value to something. Since you are not assigning this evaluated value to something, therefore nothing is modified, right?
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Right. Thank you for asking questions. So it becomes important if you ask questions. These doubts might come to other participants also. So please ask questions. All right. Now you see, when we did remove, it removed the first occurrence of that element. Now it might happen that you want to remove some element which is in some position. In that case, you can use either use a either use a keyword which is called del. You can see we have a list called LST7. Let us use LST7. So what is this list? This is the list. All right. There is a keyword called del, and it is not just applied for list. It can be applied to many other things in sets, or I don't know about tuple. I have to check, but it can be applied to many other data structures. When you say del and you say LST box bracket some number, suppose you want to remove this. So what is the position of that element? So 0, 1. When you pass 1, then it will actually delete that element from that position. All right, when you do this, sorry, LST7, I apologize. Yeah, and when you say LST7, then you see that is removed. And one very word of caution for you is that if you say del LST7, and when you execute this, then LST7 will be deleted from the memory. All right, there is no LST7 defined in the memory. So you should always be cautious when you are using del. All right, you can erase that entirely. Right. So there is one more function which is called pop, and when you use pop, it will remove the last element in the list. So if you say lst7.pop, and you don't have to pass anything, I guess you don't have to pass anything. Yes. Now you see these functions, when we did dot remove, dot append, dot extend, they when they were executed, they actually returned none. That is why we were not getting any output. But when we are saying pop, what it does, two things actually. First, it removes the last element from the list. It removes the last element. This was the last element in the list. It removed it. But pop also does one thing. It actually hands back the element which it has removed. So actually what is happening is this element was removed from the list and it was returned back to whoever it called. That is why you are getting this as output. And you could understand this because you have done the class on functions. If you would have not done the class on functions and I would have come directly to this list and I would say that this is coming and this is not coming, it would have been difficult for you to understand what is it return and how something is returning and something is not. So it was important for me to go to functions first talk about return statement and then come here and explain about what is happening over here. All right, you can check. So when you say this remove and when you say print, and you are saying this remove, when you do this you will see none. So what is happening is this is returning none. That is why you can see none printed. Now when you do this and print, this is actually a print by the way, so you are getting the item which has been removed. All right, so this is okay. And one word of caution, if you want to remove something which is not there in the list, then you will get an error. So if you do remove 7, but lst7 doesn't have, does it have 7? Okay, I have redefined 7, so let me do this. And if you pass 7 over here, then it will give you an error. It says that it is not there in the list. So you should be cautious when you are using these commands. All right. So we talked about pop, we talked about remove. Let me talk about some of the related keywords in Python. We have seen this when we were talking about special operators. You see, if we say lst7 and what it is, this is the list. All right, and if you say if, not if, you can just check. So if you say 1 in lst7, now if you do this, then you will get true. So you are saying that check if this, whatever this is in the list or not. All right, similar to this you can do not in. We have talked this about this also when we are talking about special operators. When you say not in, so not plus and space is there. All right, so when you do this, then it will say false because 1 is there in lst7. All right, there is a function called reverse. What it do is it just reverse the order of the elements in the list. So you should remember the list is an ordered sequence. Everything is ordered. So when you do lst7, these are ordered. So this is in the 0th position. This is in the 1st position, and so on. So when you do lst7 dot reverse, then you will get this list will be modified and you will get, okay, so 1 is there in the all the position. Doesn't matter, it has reversed. You see 1, so it has come here 1, then 4, then 1, then 3, then 2, then 1. All right, so it has reversed the list, and original list is modified. So you can just check again if you want to see what is happening. So you can do over here, I did this code and I'll just use this code itself, doesn't matter, lst2 dot reverse, and let us see what is it is doing. All right, your code is, yeah, so you see lst1 is this, lst2 is this, then it will append Ram Prakash to lst1. It did. Now what it is doing, it is reversing lst2. You see, when we are doing this, then no new list will be created, the original list will be modified. You see, the original list is modified, then it will print, and when you print lst2, the modified list will be printed because in the memory it has been modified. All right, and lst2 just points to that memory. Is it okay?
Okay.
So it is 7 o'clock now. Let us take a break of 5 minutes. We'll meet at 7:05. All right. We'll meet at 7:05.
Okay.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. So let us proceed. Just 1 minute. Yes, so we were talking about reverse. Now we will go on to see sort. All right. So sorting is important. You know why sorting is important. You can do ascending order or descending order. All right. So you see, we will define a list first. So number is equals to 3, 6, 1, 2, 9, 7, 4. All right. So this is a list, and I'll say sorted, and I'll pass this list number. All right. Now when you do this, then this list will be sorted 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 is not there. 6, 7, 9. Now number will not be modified. All right. Number will remain as it is. But there is one more function which actually modifies modifies the original list, which is called sort. When you do that sort and pass over here, then you will check that number is actually modified. All right. So this is two functions which actually sorts in ascending order. One will just return the sorted list. So this returns the sorted list. That's why we are getting a list, but this list returns none, whereas this will actually modify the original list. Now if you want to do in reverse order, then you have to say comma reverse is equals to true. All right. So when you do that, so let me do it over here again, then it will be better. When you do this, then you will get in reverse order. All right. And in this, it will not be comma, it will just be reverse is equals to true. TBERS is equals to TRQA. Then you do number and you will get a list which is actually sorted in descending order, but the original list is modified. All right, this was the original list when you passed, because you see we defined number like this, but when we did this, then the original list was modified and this was the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. Now again we did dot sort in reverse order, then the original list is modified as this. All right, so this is what sorting does. Now when you do list with, so if you have a list which has a list as well as a string, then it will give you an error. Suppose you have a list 3. What is list 3? So you have some number and also string, and when you do list 3 dot sort, then this will give you an error. All right, because both string and integer cannot be compared. But I guess if you do only in string, then it will be sorted. All right, it should be actually, yeah. So LST7 is sorted, you see, in alphabetical order. All right, actually lexicographical order, so you can check, but it is similar to alphabetical order. So you cannot have a list and do sorting when we have multiple data types in that list. All right, it should be similar data types. Now list in memory, we were talking about list in memory, how lists are stored in memory and how you can copy a list such that the original list, when you modify the original list, the second list is not modified. Here we can do few more things to see what is happening. All right, you see I'm writing some things, just bear with me for some time. First we will see that sorted. So let us see what is sort and sorted sort and sorted are doing. You see, you can think about it. So when this sorted, you are performing sorted, then the original list is not modified, it is just returning the list. So you see, I'll just edit this code and I'll say sorted, and I'll also say number is equals to number dot sort, and I will store this in new number. All right, so there is a new list which is called new number is equals to this, and when you print is not important, we can just visualize. So you see we have a list in memory. This is the list in memory. Now when you do number is equals to sorted number, so this original list will not be modified. You will create another list and this new list will point to that list. But when you do number dot sorted, then this original list is actually modified. You see I'm just going back, you can check list where the number is pointing, it was this, but when you did number dot sorted, it actually modified the original list. All right, so this is what they are doing. Now yeah, so I'll write one program. Okay, I have written it, right? So I can just copy it. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. You see I have a list called primary colors. This is the list, and I have a list called secondary colors, which is this list. All right. Now what am I doing is I am creating another list called paint palette, which is actually a list inside a list. So see, I have given box bracket. It means it is a list. Inside that there is some element which is actually a list, which is this list. Primary colors, red, blue, yellow. Now I am doing paint palette dot append second list. So in this list I am appending another list, and if you remember, append actually modifies the original list. Now I'll print this. Now in secondary color I'll append pink. All right, so it will be difficult for you to follow like this, so let me do it in Python tutor. All right, then it will make sense. So see what is happening. I have defined a list called, oh, just a minute. So I have defined a list called primary colors, which is pointing to this list in memory. All right. And there is a secondary color, which is pointing to this list. All right. Now, when I'm saying paint palette is equals to a list, which is primary colors, it will create a list, which will point to the primary color list or object, you can say primary color. The object which primary color was pointing, it will point to that list in memory. All right, so this line has been executed, line number 4. It is saying paint palette is equals to a list inside another list, which is actually this list. So this is a list inside, so this list is inside this list. If you are facing any difficulty understanding, please stop me. These are important concepts. Now this line, line number 5 will be executed. You see, in paint palette, which is this, I will append this list, secondary colors. So what it will happen is, this is the 0th element, one more element will come over here, and that element is actually this list, so it will point to that list. You see, one more element will be here because we have done dot append. So this was the original list, which is paint palette. It is modified, and we have one more element in that list, which is pointing to this list, which is secondary colors. All right. Now this is important. When I modify secondary colors, all right, so I'm printing, so this will just print over here, not important. You see, now when I'm modifying secondary color, when I do that, then secondary color is modified. It has 4 elements here, but you see, paint palette is actually pointing to this list. Therefore, paint palette will also get modified. So when you print it, you see, paint palette will have red, blue, yellow, green, orange, purple, and pink. So this will also be added in the paint palette. So when you are modifying list in memory, you should always visualize what is happening inside the memory. And if you are facing difficulty, you can always come here. This is a very good tool to visualize what is happening in the memory. All right. So this is an example of list of list. All right. Any doubt? Now I'll show you one example where you may face difficulty, or where you can do an error when you don't keep this in memory, what is happening. All right, so this is one example where you may fall into a trap. You see, what are you doing? This is a word of caution. You see, you have a function which takes actually takes two arguments and I'm passing two lists to it because the function is actually expecting two lists. All right, so it is iterating over the first list and the second list. Sorry, it is iterating over the first list and it is checking if that element is there in the second list, and it is removing that element. So what it is doing is it is just removing common elements between the list. All right, it will just remove the common element between the list. Common element in list 1, actually common element in list 1. So I have passed two lists 1 2 3 and 1 2 5 6, and what I want to do using this function is I want to remove 1 and 2 from list 1. Why? Because these two elements 1 and 2 is also present in list 2. That is why I want to remove that. For some reason I want to remove the common element from list 1. So that is what I am doing. Now you see, you are iterating over list 1 and you are also removing some element from list 1. That is, you are also modifying list 1. So over here you will face difficulty because you are iterating over a list and also you are modifying that list. In that case you will face an error, logical error by the way. So if you execute this, you see you got 2 3 4 list 1, but 2 we did not expect 2 because 1 is also there in list 2 and 2 is also there in list 2. So we wanted to remove list 2 from list 1, but it did not remove. Why is it so? You see, when you go iteration by iteration, you will understand. You see, in the first iteration, this E is actually 1. So we are passing this list 1. So this list 1 is L1 and the first element is 1. If 1, so this statement I am reading, if 1 in L2, so 1 is there in L2, L1 dot remove 1. So what it will do, it will remove this element from L1. All right. Now, since only one object was there in memory and L1 was also pointing to that object and list 1 also was pointing to that object, therefore the first element was removed in both. Now for second element in list 1, so you see when L1 is modified, this is the list, not the original list. This is what the list is there in the memory. Now what is the second element of L1? It is not 2. The second element of L1 will be 3 because the original list is modified with the new list which has only 3 elements in memory. And if you want to visualize this, we can do that using Python tutor for better understanding. I hope it is making sense. All right. So I am showing you how there is a logical error in this code. All right. So you see, I have created a, so over here we will have two scopes, the main scope and the function scope. So this is the main frame. So it is called here frame, but you can also call it a scope. All right. Now in the main scope or the global scope, you have one list 1 and a list 2, and you are calling the function. So you will have one more scope, which is the function scope. All right. Now you see, L1 is actually pointing to this list in memory or object in memory, and L2 is pointing to this object in memory. All right. Now for E in L1, for the first element in L1, which is 1, it will check if E is in L2. All right. So E is 1 in memory. It will check E is there in memory. Now it will remove 1. You have to focus over here. What it will do, it will remove 1 from L1. So it will remove 1 from L1. Now you see, 1 was there in the first position, but now 2 has come in the first position. The original list is modified. Now when the second iteration of the loop executes, it will not take 2 as the element, it will take 3. All right. So E will be 3 in the second iteration, and therefore 3 is not there. So 3 will not be removed, and so on. It will check 4, and this is executed. The loop has done execution. Now it will return none and it will come back and print. All right. So this is what the error was. To overcome this, you just have to provide one more command over here, which is to copy the list. You just have to copy the original list while you are there in the function. All right. Now if you execute this, then you will have modified list is 3 and 4. What is different from the above code? everything is same, but just I'm creating a copy of the list, which is L1 copy is equals to L1 box bracket colon, and I'm iterating over L1 copy, but I'm removing elements from L1. All right, so I'm removing elements from L1, but I'm iterating over L1 copy. Is this all right, or should I show this also in tutor, Python tutor? Is it all right? Is this all right, or should I show you?
It's all right.
Others? Rahul, Vaishnavi, Ranjit, Akhila, Pratibha, Shambhavi. Are you guys here?
Sir, show in tutor, sir.
Okay, thank you. So you see, we have the global scope. Now list 1 is created, list 2 is created. We are going in the function scope. First L1 is pointing to the first object, L2 is pointing to the second object. Now I'm creating a copy of L1. When you create a copy of L1, another list or another object is created in the memory. All right, and I'm iterating over L1 copy. I'm not iterating over L1. All right, so when you go to the for loop, E is 1. It will check if 1 is there in L2. Yes, it is there, so it will remove. So you see over here, this is the list, and it has checked E is there in L2. It has checked, yes, 1 is there in L2. Now it will remove 1 from L1. So when it removes 1 from L1, this is modified, but this is not, because L1 is a copy of L1 copy is a copy of L1. All right. Now second iteration, E will be 2. In the earlier code, E was 3 in second iteration, but here E will be 2. So E will be 2. Similarly, in the next iteration, 2 is removed, and in next iteration E will be 3, and in next iteration E will be 4. The original list is modified 3 and 4. We are returning none, but this is actually modified. Therefore, L1 list 1 is also modified. You see, list 1 is pointing to this object in memory. So list 1 is modified, and when you come back, then you have list 1 as 3 and 4, not 2, 3 and 4. All right. Is it all right?
L1 copy will have all the 4 elements, right, sir?
Sorry, L1 copy will have all
L1
the.
copy will have all the 4 elements.
Yes, yes. L1 copy will have all the 4 elements.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Sure. So this is it. Now we have few more functions. What it does is it actually converts some string to a list, and you can see what it happens. You see, I have a. So let me just copy over here. So I'll just come here and copy. So I'll just print it. So you see, I have a list S is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have used this function called split. I told you what it does. It actually splits in that. So whenever it encounters this character, which whatever you are passing in the split function, it will split in that. So it will split the original string on that character. It will remove that character, and it will return a list. All right. So it is not modifying the original string. It is returning a list. All right. So this is the list it is returning, and I'm storing it in ls list lst, and it is printing it. So you see, s is not getting modified. All right. S is as it is. Split function is not changing s. It is returning a list of the string in that string, if you understood what I mean. All right. Now if you use split with no commas, then what you will have is it will split in spaces. We have talked about it. So suppose these are spaces and not commas, so it will just split. If you don't pass anything, it will just split on the spaces. All right, so it will split in the space. Now we have another function called list. We have talked about this. So when we were saying that list range 9, then we are just getting 0 to 8. Similarly, you can say list and pass something like s. If you pass s in the list, S is a string, or list, list, yeah. S is a string. What it will do, it will split this string in individual characters and return a list. All right, so you see I have a list, sorry, yes, I have a list with individual characters, so O, N, E, space, T, W, O, space, and so on. All right, is it all right? Now we have splitted a string. We can also join strings. So suppose I have a list called L is equals to, say, S U N. This is a list. All right, and now what you want to do, you want to join. So you see, join actually operates on a string. So you have to, so what is join? Join is like this, dot join, and you pass the list you want to join with. So over here it expects a string. So if you pass a string and you say string dot join L, so in that string it will join the elements of the list. So you have to have some string over there. So I'm just giving an empty string. So when I'm saying inverted commas with nothing inside, it is just an empty string. All right, now when I do this, sorry, capital L, sorry, when I do this, then you will have these elements joined, S, U, and Sun, as an individual string. All right. Now when you say something like this, underscore dot join, and you give L, now it will join these elements, but initially I have passed nothing. So in between these elements, nothing was there. So S, N, S, U, N. In between these elements, there was nothing. When you say underscore dot join L, then underscore will come in between the elements. You see S underscore U underscore N. All right. So whatever you pass the string over here, it will be added in between two elements of the list. All right. Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now we are moving to list comprehension, and list comprehension is actually.
Sir, one doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, the print you have given dot join. No?
Yes.
In that we are getting the output sum. But what will be the value of the list?
What will be the value of L? L will be a list.
Yeah.
So actually this
L will
is
not have.
no. This is returning something. What it is returning? It is returning this. That's why we are getting an output. So this is the return value of. So this is actually the return value of the command which is here. All right.
But L value is not changed, right?
No. L is actually a list. So generally in Python, when you are changing from a list to a string or a string to a list, then the original data type is not, the original object is not getting changed.
Okay.
All right. So list comprehension is actually a very elegant way to concise your code in Python. Actually, it may be difficult for people coming from other languages to grasp it initially, but it is actually, there's a term called Pythonic command, so Pythonic code. So it says that it is very specific to Python. All right, so list comprehension is a Pythonic code. So you see what I am doing is I am trying to get a list called square, and this list is initially empty, and I'm writing a code which is similar to other programming languages. All right, so I'm writing for I in range, say 10. All right, and I want to say square square dot append, and I'm saying I square 2. All right, so I'm just power to the 2, and I'm appending this I square to square. All right, and I'm printing it. So you see initially square was empty, but I have appended elements. So 1 square, 2 square, 3, sorry, 0, from 0 it will start. So 0 square, 1 square, 2 square, and those will be added to this list. All right, so let me run it, and you see this is what we got. So 0 to 81. All right. Now you can do this using one line in Python. You see, we can do this square. So let me say square 1. Oh, that square doesn't matter. And you say I square for I in range 10. So when you do this, you will get SQURE, the same thing. So what this three line is doing, this single line is doing that. All right. So first it is initializing an empty list with this box bracket. Now it is saying the individual elements of this list will be I square, where I is this coming from for loop. I am saying again. So it is saying that I am defining a list which has the elements I square. What is I square? What is I? I is coming from this for loop. It is saying for I in range 10. So when I is 0, we are getting first element. When I is 1, it is getting second element, and so on and so forth. All right, you can go on with this. By the way, you see, you want to get a square of even numbers. All right, so you can say if I mod, what is mod? I mod 2 equal to 0. So you want to get only squares of even numbers. Now when you run this, you will only get squares of even numbers. 0, 4, 16, 36, 64. How it is doing? You see, first I am defining a list which is empty. Then I'm saying it has elements which is I square. And this I is coming from this. What is this? It says that I in the range 10. So it will go 0, 1, 2, 3. But in 0, it will go inside this and check if I is equal, I modulus 2 equals to 0. If it is so, then I will come here and it will be 0 squared. For 1, it will see that there is a remainder of 1. So this is not true. So 1 will not come here. Then it will go to 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. Therefore, we have got this. So this is a list. This is what is list comprehension. And for beginners, it is difficult to comprehend a little bit. Any questions, ma'am? Anyone else? Any question?
This list comprehension, is there any order to follow? For example, this I square, is it possible that if we can move this I square after or at the end of the statement?
No.
After
That will not work. That will not work. You can check. It will not work. You have to give the element first. This is the element, and this is the condition, or whatever it is.
Okay. So, is there any preferred way or any procedure to know which one should come first?
So
And
I'm saying that. So that is what I was saying. So first we are defining a empty list, and I'm saying this is the element of that list.
okay.
Now, what are the individual elements? It is dependent upon I. So you go and check what is I. So this will give what I is. Now, if you define if first and then go for, then it will not work, because you are saying if I modulus 2 equals to 0, but when you do this, I mean to say, then I is not defined. I is not defined, right? So you need to define I and then check if I modulus 2 is equal to 0. So this will also not work. You can check this will not work, right? So you have to define I first and then give some condition if you want to give some condition.
Okay.
All right. Now we will talk about tuples. So tuples is coming. So in list comprehension, you can do tuples also. So I'll show you what tuples. I'll just show you tuple, but we will talk about tuple in 2-3 minutes. Just see, huh? So tuples are actually enclosed in parenthesis, and it is a immutable object. So you cannot mutate it. So we will talk about it. All right. And the individual elements of a tuple are separated by a comma. All right. and it is also ordered. So similar to list. So since lists are ordered, not since list are ordered, as list is ordered, tuples are also ordered. All right. So this is the first element. It is indexed as 0. We will see that. Now in list comprehension, I was here. That's why I'm saying that you can also have tuples inside the list. So you see, when we were defining list, so you can also have tuples inside the list. I'll show you just. So you can have tuples 1, 2, 3. And when you check what is LST2, you see this is an element of the list. So this is the 0th element, first element, second element, third element, fourth element, and this is the 5th element. You can check LST2 5 and you will get this tuple. All right. So this is a tuple, and I'll show you what tuple is, but let us go here in list comprehension. Yes. So it will, what it will do, it will create a list with tuples. All right. And what is that tuple? It will give I comma I square. All right. So when you execute this, you will see 0, 0. Okay. And it is also checking if it is even or not. So 0, 0, 2, 4, 4, 16, 6, 36, 8, 64. All right. And if you are not understanding this, or if you are finding it difficult to understand, you can do it simply using the ways which we do in other programming languages. It is up to you. It is not necessary to do like this. If you are finding it difficult to understand, you can always do what you did in other programming languages. But in Python, this is some of the ways you can save some space in your code or write more elegantly, you can say. All right. Now nested list comprehension. So just like tuples we passed, we can also have list under list with comprehension. So I'll show you what I mean. All right. I'll show you what I mean. All right. So I know this will be a little bit extra, but let's see. So suppose I have a matrix 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the first row, this is the second row, and this is the third row. And by the way, this is not a matrix, this is a list of list. I'm just naming it as matrix. This is actually a list of list. This is the outside list, and in individual elements, this is the 0th element of that list, this is the first element of that list, and this is the second element of that list. Not second, this is the 0th element of that list, the element in the 0th position, this is the element in the first position, and this is the element in the second position. All right. So this is just a list of list. I am naming it as matrix. Now what I want to do is I want to get a transpose of that matrix. All right. So I have written a code to get the transpose of that matrix. So you see, I am defining a transpose matrix, and this is empty right now. What I want is, I want the first element of the transpose as 1, 5, 9, the second element as 2, 6, 10, the third element as 3, 7, 11, and the fourth element as 4, 8, 12, right? This is what the transpose of a matrix means, right? The rows will become columns and columns will become rows. All right. So what am I doing is I am saying there are 4 columns here, first column, second column, third column, and fourth column. So I am saying for I in range 4. So there are 4 columns. I am iterating over columns. So I am first in the first column. What I will do in the first column, I'll get all the elements in the first column. So I'll go in each row and I'll get the first element. The second row, I'll get the second element in first column. When I have got that, I'll make it in a list and I'll add that to transpose matrix. Then I'll go to the second column. I'll get, so what I mean is I is the column. So I'm in the first column. So in the first column, I'll get 1, 5, and 9 in one list and add it to transpose. When I go to second column, I'll add 2, 6, and 10 to a list and add that to transpose. Similarly, 3, 7, and 11 and add that to transpose, and 4, 8, and 12 and add that to transpose. That is what we are doing here. So you see, for I in range, I am also assigning a empty list, LST, which is empty. Now for rows in matrix. So this row is just an name of an element. You can do it in anything. So you see, matrix is a list which has 3 elements. This is the first element, this is the second element, and this is the third element. So what this row will get? Row will get this element in the first iteration. In the second iteration, row will get this element in the second iteration, and in the third iteration, row will get this as the element, sorry, this as the value. All right. Now to this list I am appending the first element of row. So let me explain. So in first iteration, what is row? In first iteration, row is actually this. All right. So when we are over here inside the second for loop, in the first iteration, row is this. All right. And LST is empty. Initially LST is empty. LST is initially empty. All right. LST is initially empty and we are over here. So it is getting the first element of the list, which is matrix. Now I am appending row I to LST. So I is first 0. First I is 0. For the first iteration, I is 0. So it will add row 0. So what is row 0? Row 0 will be 1. You see over here, row 0 is actually 1. So it will take 1. And what it will do is it will append to LST. So LST was empty. It will append 1 to it. All right. In the second iteration, it will go to the second row. So what is the second row? The second row is this. This is the second row. And it will take 0th element of the second row, which is 5. So it will do 5. Again, it will go to the third row and it will take the 0th element of the third row, which is 9. So it will take 1, 5, 9. And now I will change to 1. So the first row is done. We go to the second row. Similarly, we go to the third row and similarly we go to the fourth row. And that is how we will get a transpose. All right. So let me execute this and you will see we have got the first, the second, the third and the fourth. And this is a code to transpose a matrix. Is it all right or was it difficult? Was it difficult?
It's all a little bit difficult, but I got it.
So if you are not getting it, just copy and paste it in tutor, Python tutor. All right. It will make more sense. Let us execute. So there will be many iterations. So bear with me. It will take some time. All right. So first we have defined a matrix. So this is the matrix. It has 3 rows. So see what it is. It is actually a list of a list. Matrix is actually, so this matrix, which is a list, is a list of a list. So this is the list, and the first element of that list is another list. The second element of that list is another list, and the third element of that list is another list. All right. So it is list of a list. Now in the memory, I am creating a matrix. Sorry, a list which is empty. So this transpose is an empty list. In the first iteration, I is 0, and I also defined LST, which is also an empty list. All right. Now for row in matrix, so it will get the first element of matrix. So what is matrix? This is matrix. All right. You see, this is the matrix, and for will get the first element of that matrix. What is first element? You go and check. This is the first element of matrix. All right. Am I making sense? Let me drink some water. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Now what this command will do is it will go and it will grab first element of row. So what is the first element of row? 1. So row is pointing to this. What is the first element? It is 1. So you see, LST has only one element, which is a list, which is 1. All right. In the second iteration, row will point to the second row of the matrix, and this row I will capture the first element of that matrix, that list, which is 5. So it is taking 5. Now row will point to the third row of that matrix, which is this list, and it will grab the first element, which is 9, and we have done. So this will be added to transpose. You see, transpose is currently empty. Transpose is currently empty. It will add to transpose. All right, so it will add to transpose. So it is becoming clumsy, but I hope you are getting it. I hope you are getting it.
Yes, sir, I got it.
Anybody else? Some error? Some doubt? So this is just logic. I wanted to show you something else. So this is the logic of how to transpose a matrix. There can be some other logic as well. I have executed some other logic. All right, so this is not necessary. This is only the way of transposing a matrix. You can have some other algorithm to transpose a matrix. All right. Now you see, with list comprehension, you can do that with just one line of code. Just one line of code. All right, I'll show you. Just let me execute it. You see, the matrix is this, and with just one line you are transpose the matrix. What it is doing, it is saying that I have a list. What it is a list of a list, so it is another list. All right, so this list has another list inside it, and for the inside list the elements are row I. What is I? You go back and see, I is coming from this for loop. Now what is row? Row is coming from inside for loop, and row in matrix. So it will extract the first row in the matrix, and I is initially 0, so it will take 1. So it will say 1 is the first element. Now it will go to the second row, it will say 5. Then it will go to the third row, it will say 9. And therefore this for loop, when I is equals to 0, has been executed. Therefore we are done with the first element. Now I will exceed by 1, so I will become 2. Sorry, not 2. I will become 1. From 0 it will become 1. Then here will be 1, and for each row it will go over here. So for the first row, when I is 1, it will take 2. So 2 will come here, and so on. So I have shown you just an example of list comprehension. It is not important you use this. I will just showing you the power of list comprehension. You can just concise your code so much. All right. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Any doubt?
No, sir.
So are you guys here? Shambhavi, Vaishnavi, and Ranjit, Akila, Pratibha?
Yeah.
Any doubt? All right, so I don't see a lot of time we have, but I'll show you what tuples are. So I had a lot to talk about tuples and sets and dictionaries. So I'll just see what I can do now. So you see, list is tuples is similar to list. The difference is we cannot change the element of a tuple once it is assigned, whereas list element can be changed. So tuples are immutable objects. List can be muted, so it can be changed, but tuples cannot be changed. So once you define a tuple, it is defined. If you want to get a changed value of the tuple, you define another tuple and then do something with get that tuple in some other way, but you cannot change one once it is assigned. So we'll see what it means. So first we'll see how we can define a tuple in memory. So when you say t is equals to parenthesis, this is an empty tuple. All right, this is an empty tuple. When you see t, it is an empty tuple. All right, and if you want to define elements in the tuple, you will just separate it with commas, and you will get this tuple. All right. Now, if you want to have only one element in the tuple, suppose there is only one element in the tuple, 2, and when you execute this, and when you check type, so initially let me do this, and I'll check type. You see type, it is saying tuple. All right. But over here, when we are saying only there is one element in the tuple, and I'm saying type of t, I'm saying type of t, then you will see it is an integer. Why is it an integer? Because it is just thinking Python is just thinking that this is an expression, 2 into 3, something like that. You see, this is just an expression, so it is ignoring the parenthesis. It is saying, okay, I guess t is an integer, but you wanted to define it as a tuple. In that case, you have to give a comma. 1 comma is necessary. All right. Now, if you check, it will be a tuple. All right. So this is how we define tuples. Similar to list, tuple can have any data type inside it. All right. It is not necessary that tuple have only integer or only one data type inside it. It can have any data type inside it. All right. It can also have list inside it. All right. You see, you can also have a list inside tuple. You can check. This is also a tuple. All right. Is it okay? Now, similar to here, what we have done, if you pass just one string, then you need to pass a, so suppose this is a string and you are saying that str, and you have to give one comma such that it becomes a tuple, otherwise it will become a string. All right. If you don't give a comma, it will become a string. I'll show you. If you remove this comma and you check type of t, then it will give, sorry, type. It is a string and not tuple. So if you define one element, you have to give a comma. All right. Now accessing the elements of a tuple, you see, we can index as we were indexing in list. So I'll just copy one list from here. Let me copy this. This is a list, and I'll go back and I'll say t is equals to this, but with this bracket.
Can't we give just list one inside tuple?
Sorry?
Instead of copying the contents of the list, can't we just refer that list one here inside tuple?
Okay, you can do that. I'll show you what is the difference. All right. So you see, this is a list. When you, sorry, this is a tuple. You see, this tuple has 4 elements: 0, 1, 2, and 3. But what you are saying is, you are saying that list 1 is equals to, suppose this, and you are saying that t equals to, you have to give a parenthesis, by the way, then only it will be a tuple, list 1. Now when you do this and when you see what this t is, all right, so you have to give a comma over here, otherwise it will not be a tuple. So I made a mistake over here. What I did is I just gave a parenthesis and I said t is this. So in that case, it made it a list. All right. So you have to give a comma to say Python that it is actually a tuple. Now in this case, if you check what is the difference between the above and this one, you see this tuple has only one element inside this, which is this list, and not this individual elements or 4 elements. All right. So you have to be
Okay.
vigilant. Now let me define t as like this, such that I'll show you how we can access the individual elements. So you can say t 0, and when you do that, you will get Shubham. Similar to list, it is as it list is, you can say t minus 1 Arjun. All right. So this is what it is. You can also slicing you can do. So you can say 1, 2, sorry, not 2, 3. All right. So you see, oh, index out of range, sorry. 2. Oh, sorry, not comma. You have to pass a colon when slicing. I gave comma, that is why it was error. All right. When you say 1:3, then it will be Sonu, Raj and Sonu. So this is 1 and this is 2. So 3 will not be there. Obviously, we have talked about this a lot. All right. This is how we slice over a list. Now I'll not proceed. This is a lot for today. And we will see why tuples are important when we proceed in our So we have a lot to cover actually. There are sets, there are dictionaries. I don't know if I'll be able to complete by the next class. I'll see. All right. So any questions? Any doubts? Any questions? So you can just give your attendance. Just 1 minute. So today is 9th. Yes, so one by one Ram Prakash is here. And Kalyavani ma'am is here, and Ranjit is here. Ranjit is here. I saw Vaishnavi. I don't know if she is here or not. Hello Vaishnavi, are you here? I saw Shambhavi. Rahul I saw. And I saw
39.
39 Pratibha is here. Yes, anyone else? Did I miss anyone? Vaishnavi, Akhila is here. Ranjita, yes, everybody I have given attendance, I guess. Shambhavi, yes. Okay, just a minute. Did I save it? Yeah, it's saved. Thank you. All right, so I'll try to complete by next class. So what are we left with? So we will talk about tuples will complete. Then we'll go to sets and dictionaries. These are the data structures which are there defined in Python. And then we'll move back to functions. There are very important things about functions we did not talk about in our previous class. All right. Any doubts? So by the way, any feedback? Any improvement in my way of teaching or something else you want to share? Hello?
No, I don't have any comments. So far, it's good for me.
Okay, thank you.
So a little bit time needed to practice parallel.
Time needed to practice. So we are having 2 classes in a week, and I cannot just decrease the number of classes to 1. So any suggestions from your end?
No, sir, we are parallelly opening the window and doing the programs. Certain things we are not able to complete. Maybe it may be for my case, not for others.
Okay, so you want me to have a doubt clearing session, something like that?
No, a little bit. I have to improve my speed. So.
So I couldn't understand.
No, what she's saying is when you go step by step, we are also doing in parallel in another window.
Okay,
By the time
yes.
we type and execute, you will be on 2-3 steps ahead of us, and it will be very hard for us to catch your speed.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I wanted a feedback on that. So I will make sure that I go a little bit slow in next class.
Thank you, sir.
And if I am not doing it, please stop me and ask for me to go slow. All right. So I'm
Sure.
sorry.
No issue, sir. It's not an issue. I will also improve from our end.
All right. Anything else?